Hi, my name is Satyam Vyas. I'm the founder of Arthan Careers. We support mission-driven organizations in hiring key talent. And today I'm with Shaveta. She's the managing director at Central Square Foundation. And I was just very curious to learn more about Central Square Foundation's work in the country. And Shaveta, it would be great if you can talk to me about the mission of Central Square Foundation and particularly the role it's playing in transforming the education landscape in the country.
Great. Thank you, Satyam. Central Square Foundation, as you know, we're a very young organization in the Indian education landscape. We are a not-for-profit philanthropic foundation which got set up in 2012. And our mission is to achieve transformational standards of education for children in India with a focus on children from low-income communities. There is a gap in how CSR funding is available to young social entrepreneurs. An organization has to be registered at least for 3 years before they can tap into CSR funding, and there is on an average an additional 1.5 years to 2 years before you can tap into foreign funding. We felt there was a gap to actually support young social entrepreneurs who were starting out with new ideas, a new theory of change on a more innovative way to solve the problem in education system. So that's on the grant making side. Our research and ecosystem engagement comes from the premise that we need more action-oriented research, which needs to be built by partners coming together. At the end of the day, different organizations are playing different roles. There is no one single solution which will be the silver bullet. And how do we make it a very action-oriented research, which lends itself to policy action, which lends itself to something different being actually designed into an intervention or program. Our government engagement work is actually, in a way, it brings together the grant making side, the ecosystem engagement and the research to actually systematically build the capacity of the government system to be able to work towards quality education for all children.
More about your own personal journey. I mean, you're not from the sector. You moved from a corporate world to the development sector.
Yes, I always knew I wanted to work at that time. What it was, I want to work in an NGO. But in the late 90s, I wasn't sure what that meant. And also, the shine of an MBA was a safer bet, right? So I did the default. I went to business school, graduated from business school, have had a decade of corporate experience. Fortunately for me, at least in my mind, I knew the next phase of my career would be in the development sector, and the sector evolved and the sector matured. So while there was this whole perception of work in the development sector is only at a grassroots level, the way the sector evolved, whether it was a 2% Companies Bill Act for CSR funding, whether it was international foundations coming into different sectors, whether it was a more structured perspective of, okay, there's a lot of good work happening on the ground, but how do we take it to scale? So thankfully for me, when I was ready to make the switch to the next phase of my career, development sector had matured, and I was fortunate enough to end up starting with CSF as a founding member in 2012.
I mean, if someone has to transition from corporate to social sector, so what one should keep in mind?
A big difference comes from just your mindset and your perspective, right? I mean, people are working equally hard. People are actually mission aligned in both. It's just the definition of mission is different, right? In the for-profit, it's all about the market. It's about monetization. It's about shareholder value. It's about profitability. And that's how the entire system is geared towards. So commercial becomes the main driving force, if you will, in the for-profit sector. I think in the social sector, the biggest difference is, the biggest delta in what you're working for is the purpose. So for it to be successful, I think it's very critical to find an issue area that engages you, that excites you, that you can commit to working for the foreseeable future. So that mission alignment at a purpose level is very, very important when considering a switch from the corporate sector and looking to make a long-term career in the development sector.
Why is CSF a great place to work? I mean, what would be your pitch?
Yeah. So I think it's at two levels. One is just at an issue level, because the unfortunate part in India is there are a multitude of social causes which need smart people, which need committed people. I think for most people at CSF, and very strongly for me also personally, education as a lever of change, you're not just impacting one life, you're impacting the life of a family as a unit. An educated individual just doesn't set up for himself or herself to lead a better life, but grows up to be a better child, a better parent, a better spouse, a better citizen. So I think just the leverage that working on education as a social cause helps you achieve is incredible. So that's why CSF, because we work in education. But I think one of the most distinct things about CSF is our people. I think on the cultural side, it's a great set of people to hang around with, right? There's a easy vibe in getting along with everyone, and that's very re-energizing, right? Because also in social sector, impact takes longer, right? So you want to be in an environment which positively reinforces why you're doing this work. That's on the culture side, but at the same time, this is a bunch of the smartest people that I've ever worked with.
Where is Central Square Foundation going in the next 5 years? I mean, what more in terms of the larger vision in the education landscape?
Sure. So I think in terms of a more forward-looking perspective on what our mission is and how our work will come together, a significant part of our work will be around foundational literacy and numeracy. We want to be able to co-create it with partner organizations, where we partner with states to actually set up a very ambitious goal of almost all children in the state have achieved foundational literacy and numeracy. And we think it's quite path-breaking. A lot of different states, a lot of incredible amount of organizations in the education space have directly worked with state governments. They've been a combination of governance reforms, system reforms, pedagogy and program reforms. Our perspective is that how do we stitch it all together as an integrated solution with a system lens and a sustainability lens. Eventually, the state should own the program. It has to become the new normal of how the government education system actually imparts foundational literacy and numeracy to all our children. We will continue to work on some of the areas of work which CSF has always supported. Education technology is something we've been actively working in since we started in 2012. We look at it both from a student perspective and a teacher perspective. Personalized learning with the penetration that IT and the way the cost of hardware is falling. It's an incredible opportunity, but we need to support it with the right amount of, with the right quality of software, with the right solutions for personalized learning. So the whole availability of solutions for which leverage education technology for middle school and high school continue to be a priority area. There's work that we are doing around private schools. Already the trend is that close to half the children in Indian education system go to private schools. A disproportionate number are actually low-fee private schools. And how can the quality that they deliver be strengthened? How can the accountability of these schools to deliver quality learning outcomes to the children from the low-income communities who go to them? So private schools will be a big area of our work. We continue to look at the school-to-work transition for children who might not necessarily be pursuing higher education opportunities. How can they be supported in grades 9 to 12 to make a transition to a better economic life? So these are some of the continuing areas of work.
Thank you so much, Shaveta. It has been a great pleasure talking to you and learning more about Central Square Foundation and the transformational work happening in the field of education. I mean, we need a lot more people like you, and we need Central Square Foundation to grow and transform the education system in the country. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.